Welcome back, everybody, for our LFG Thursday. Again, as I always ask before we get started, if you wouldn't mind checking us out on YouTube, subscribing. For anybody who's new, it doesn't cost you anything. It just helps our channel, and we'll continue to do educational videos and things like that. Today, I dropped a video on the Amir Dapple, hey Caleb, Twitter account, and it's basically a Telegram bot. Just at a high level, it allows you to register the bot, bring it in. It's made for on-chain voting, so you can take that bot, you can subscribe, and once you do that, the bot will allow you to quickly start voting. And so what that means is, like, if you have a DAO or you have like a big group and you're like, man, it'd be kind of cool to see all the results on a blockchain. It writes all the results right on an immutable blockchain. It's on Kadena. It's really good from a gas perspective, and it's just something I've been working on the last week. And it's a service that a lot of people have been asking for, whether in our ecosystem, out of the ecosystem. And I just wanted to share a little quick kind of rundown. It's very simple. It's meant to be simple. It's purpose built, but you could technically use it to hook in governance if you wanted to be able to manipulate things on chain with a contract. So if anybody wants to check that out, let me know what you think. We're looking for feedback. That's the biggest update I'm going to give this week. I appreciate everybody who's been going on Token Go and checking that out. But for us today, I'd like to keep a lot of that intro to the minimum. We got a fun conversation coming up here, and I would like to introduce our guest today. And if wouldn't mind taking it away and kind of just who you are, where you come from, why we're here today, and it's a good intro for the audience.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. And awesome. I always see you. You are very active, coding and working hard and contributing to community. And I'm big on that. But my name's Scott. I right now I'm currently working for George at Cryptos R Us, and also work on the Influencer Fight Club, which is also partnered with Karate Combat. Spend a majority of my time setting up crypto influencer fights with George and executing that. We've been traveling the world. Those are the main things. Also, was working with Flux and with Dan and Davey and crew over there as helping with their events, and also a little bit with BD. So been, pretty much doxed and out for the last couple years doing those things. Before that, had a fairly extensive history in investing in Bitcoin as early as 2013. Wish I had those full bags, lost a little along the way, Gox, a few other sites, but have believed in crypto and just the general, purpose of it and how it's going to make the world better. And also it's going to make a lot of us money as we're getting close to the cycle. But yeah, I guess that's about it. That's
Perfect. No, I appreciate it, and I know, like, there's a couple new faces that I see pop up, and it's always cool to see who comes in and who checks it out, and kind of it's been interesting to kind of keep our topics a little bit not random but unique, right? We're not talking about the same thing every week, and so this is a really fun time. If people have questions as we're going through this, I'll try to keep an eye on chat. Somebody can ping me if they need to, but really, what I'd like to be able to kind of highlight today is I'm a huge fan, Scott. I'm a huge fan of IFC, and I've always been curious. Like, I know it's kind of, I don't know if I'd say chaotic, but like it's kind of chaotic because the events are all over. So it's a little bit harder to, yeah, like for me, it's harder to like get out there and like check those out. But for the audience, how do you guys feel like, and I'm curious about like how Karate Combat and IFC kind of tie together and decouple a little bit. But how does that work from your perspective, from like a planning and execution standpoint of, I'm sure it's not easy. I have no doubt it's not easy, but what does that look like? I mean, what does that look like? How do people, and my follow up will be, I'll wait for my follow up, but I'm curious kind of like if you could walk us through what that process looks like.
Oh, so Influencer Fight Club, yeah. So just to go back for people who might not know how it evolved, where it came from, and so a little over a year, there was a conference in Florida called Cypherpunk from
Mhm.
Flux, and pretty much, I want to say that it birthed from there. Several months prior, I was working on the event with, the Flux team and everyone, and I was also reached out to George about having him participate in the event. One thing leads to the next. We're co-hosting it, bringing projects in, and karate was one of the projects that we wanted to bring in, and that led to a demonstration with the world champ at the time and some of the influencers, and then this idea of IFC was born. And within 3 months, we're in Vegas. Well, in 2 months, we're in Vegas for a pre-party. We're actually at an event. A lot of the fighters who are fighting got to check it out, and then within a month or so after that, early this year, we're in Mexico City for the first IFC. It is very hectic in the sense of, we figured, all right, we're going to have one, there'll be a month or two break, another one. But as we got to that second one, which was a couple months out, which was at Consensus, then next thing you know, we had a fight the next month in Orlando, then a full card in Nashville, and then Singapore. So now it's almost every single Karate Combat has an IFC. So new city, new venue, every, let's say, on average 4 to 6 weeks, but it's probably closer to 4. So like, for example, right now I'm working on some of the paperwork and the tail end stuff to complete everything for a fight, which is 2 weeks out from today in Bangkok. And then about 3 weeks after that, we'll be in Miami during Art Basel for another IFC. So yeah,
Right,
it's
right. One after another on that one. Yeah,
yeah,
no,
you're
great.
multitasking. You're dealing with multiple, fighters in not just here, but all over the world. So, and what comes with that is different medical, systems in different countries take different amounts of time. There's different licenses. There's different people who might need visas. So there's a lot of these things that just as far as an operational level, um, there's a lot to manage and juggle. And then on top of that, we're trying to, especially George, who works on this like probably a lot more than people realize, creating good matches, trying to have where they're, there's actual weight classes, so we're trying to make sure that's lined up, and then skill level. It makes for a better fight, and nothing is pre-planned. It's like let's try to find the best people who are willing to get in the pit and make it happen. But yeah, there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah,
So
and I was complaining about how hard it is to keep up with things. Here you are, you got to actually go through the motions. And I know I totally get it. Like event planning itself is an art, and you do event planning with fight planning is I mean, even traditional organizations struggle with that, right? It's just so much work that goes into it, and you do going out of the country. I got to imagine that's a trip. So that's hats off to you for that. If you had to guess. From a like a attendance standpoint, like how much has that grown since you guys started from like the first to now? Do you have people actually like going to these fights to check that out? How does that kind of feel to you?
yeah, I mean, IFC has taken off because we have people applying every day to try to get in the pit, and so from the first one, I think really set the tone. I think a lot of people were really hyped by Bit Boy's fight. It was,
Mhm.
all heart, and there was lots of great content that came from that. I think after seeing the first IFC, people realized that, hey, this is serious, and things are just really really progressed. The amount of people that are watching. I mean, as far as the crowd, it's pretty much at capacity every single event, regardless of where it's at. And as far as streaming and people watching online, there's only, since it's like open IP, there's more people doing watch parties now. Attendance on stream is way up, and I don't want to misquote, but I think even like Singapore, there was over 1 million people live on just on
Wow.
Twitter alone watching, and something like 70 plus million views. So the reach, it's almost doubled per event, I think, since we've been around with IFC.
Well, that's no,
So
that's phenomenal. And thanks, Ron, for joining us. I'll have you say something in a second. But I was curious. So that's awesome, right? That's I can understand why you guys are still doing it, and it's good to see that be successful, right? I think it's good in general, right? It's something different, it's unique, it's fun, and I was curious. So, like, you guys have to put together cards, and I know you said George works hard on that. So, what is that like? What does that look like? What are you guys looking for? Do people come to you? Do you go to them? Is it kind of a mix? How does that? How do people get involved in that?
It's a mix. So if somebody's looking to get involved and we haven't talked before or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, like there's no conversation open, you could go to influencerfightclub.com and click apply. Some of the things we look for is obviously we want you to have some sort of influence, have, a
Mm-hmm.
good following on whether it's X or TikTok. Doesn't just have to be X or combined. Now there are people who have fought that maybe their following isn't a lot, but they're with a project or represent a
Mm-hmm.
project that's getting behind them. So there might be, a meme coin, for example, and you have somebody fighting, but they're a community lead, very well known, and everyone in that project is behind you. So you'll have just tons of people posting about it, supporting about it. So there's different ways to have that influence. But anyone who's interested, you can go to the site and apply, and then we're reaching out, and we have a lot of conversations with a lot of people that are penciled in for upcoming cards into 2025. So I think a lot of people will be very surprised with some of the people that are going to make it out to the pit. So it should be good.
I'll have to I'll have to let you know when or you'll have to let me know when my influence level hits a fever pitch. Right? It won't be anytime soon.
Got to get out
And
there,
I
get to the gym, start training, get the app
Oh
in.
my God. So it's interesting. So I do not have a fighting background. But I do have a wrestling, and I spent a lot of years when I was younger in good shape, and I was always like, I don't know if I could do it. Like, I don't know if I could just go out there and do it, but it would be fun. So maybe my goal for next year is to work with that. I've got a friend who was a semi-professional fighter, and he's always looking for people to knock around and train. So maybe
See, that's the
I'll
great
work on
thing
that.
about all this
Yeah.
like one of the biggest takeaways is everyone who's done it so far, they before the fight, they're like in the
Hmm.
best shape of their life.
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah.
it's a lot, and there's a lot of people who've never fought before,
Hmm.
who only have 2 months. They find a coach at a gym,
Hmm.
they go through a fight camp, and we've seen people lose like 20, 30 pounds or more,
Hmm.
get in great shape. They feel great mentally, physically,
Hmm.
and that in general is just a win. Having so many people that are also getting ready, who are applying, who are trying to get into shape, and motivating people to kind of get off their asses, which is what I actually should do myself. But no, it's really cool to see that benefit. So if anything, you feel better before you go in
Yeah.
there, before you get hit.
Before you start getting hit, just remember, everybody, it's healthy to go fight. Right. No,
No,
it is though. It
it
is.
could
It's
be.
really good. The training is, yeah, it could be. The training is really good for you, right? That whole regimen. And I think it's more in general, just a statement of our overall health is that people do get in great shape for fighting, right? Great fighters get in great shape for fights, right? Normal people get in phenomenal shape compared to 6 months ago to handle this, the load, the breathing, all that stuff. It's kind of cool. Like the whole thing. I hope that you guys continue to see growth in that, because by the time I am famous, I'll have to just not tell my wife, but like I'm sure my kids would love to see it. And for me, it's like it's one of those fun things of like just getting into the broader community and kind of. Uh, I don't really have beef with anybody. That's the other problem.
It's
Maybe
all
I have to
right.
start that. Maybe you could help me with that.
Well,
Like who can we beef with?
I'll help you find some beef. We
Oh
could do
my
that. No,
gosh.
no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, but I mean, we've had people like Ashley and the blonde broker,
Mhm,
who are the best of friends, who went and they had a crazy, crazy awesome fight, and then hugged it out afterwards, and
mhm.
everything. It's business as usual, friendship as usual. So you don't necessarily need it there. I think sometimes the narrative helps fuel the promotion, but ultimately, you got to give a lot of respect for people who
Mhm,
who get in the pit. And one thing I wanted to touch back on, as far as like the crypto side of things, is you had mentioned before, like how different this is.
mhm,
To me, it's so different, and I love it because it's I hate saying this, it's like it's a tangible product. Like
mhm,
there's a lot to do with crypto that is magic internet money for the most part. We put our money in, we hope token go up, we hope meme
mhm,
coin go up, whatever it is, right? But as we see RWA and other things come in this cycle, this is something where if you're in the city or want to travel, you could go to a fight, you could experience it all, and there's the token with it, and you could vote on your fighters. Like it just embodies a lot more. I think it makes it a lot more friendly to like normies and to people
Mhm.
who have no idea. Though they could be watching this and voting from their phone through the app and not even realize it's crypto. And I think part of
Right.
this that what we have to do with some of the fights as well is now with the influencers as well as the karate combat fighters is help spread how the league's tokenized, how you could vote on rule changes and do that. And I think that'll help bring people in. And it's hard to imagine with just other altcoins in general,
Mhm.
how people come in outside of Bitcoin and a couple of your blue chips that are talked about on the news. So I feel like this and doing the fights is so beneficial just for the industry and for crypto overall. Almost every conference now we're having a fight at. So it's like
Mhm.
go hang out, go to the conference, go link up with projects, meet influencers, meet people that from the community you never spoke to before, and then just go watch a couple people or multiple people punch each other in the face. Like I mean,
Yeah.
and have a beer. What better way to to hang out with everyone, right?
I've
So
heard a couple people say that like their main reason for going to a conference was to watch the fights.
So
heck yeah.
that's awesome. And hey, if you guys are, ever coming to a city where there's a fight,
Mhm.
obviously, or traveling out, just let me know and we'll make sure tickets are sorted and you can get down there right on the pit. And it's crazy. The first time I was there and they're fighting, and I'm just like banging on the side of the pit. It's like there are people thrown down right on that wall in
Mhm.
front of you. It's an experience, and for it to just be part of crypto and Web3
Mhm.
and what we're doing is just like it's like a great marriage. I think it's going to do really really well. It's only getting started in my opinion. We got 2025.
Mhm.
I mean, if the market performs even half as good as we all hope it does, then it's going to karate and IFC will be huge.
I hope so. And the broader kind of crypto environment's been very unique this cycle, and I feel like I want to ask one more question on IFC, and then I want to talk
Yeah,
about crypto for a little bit. And we can obviously dive back. That's not a problem. I'll probably be guilty of it myself. But if we're looking at like this is Web3, and the goal is to not feel Web3, right? It's that's like the dream in my mind, in my opinion, and so that we can get people outside easily using, like, if it's as easy as using an app, who cares if you're using a token or not, right? If we make it that easy, that is like the next evolution to get more projects doing that, where you actually have a reason to have the token. You're participating in IFC. You can do those things. That's so cool. And it's not just cool, it's like an actual reason to have this, right? And so we need more of those things. And I was just curious, being the lunatic that I am a little bit. Do you guys have any kind of like fighter packs or anything like that, or is there like stuff? Have you guys digitized any of that stuff? Like with, I'm not sure if I'd call them NFTs, but you brought up RWA. I wasn't sure if that's something you guys have considered. Are you doing?
so IFC ourselves and KC, I believe, have not. There, because of the way the IP and
Oh, of
you're allowed
course.
to do a lot of stuff. There is a couple people developing NFTs. One of them is actually a fighter who's coming up in a fight. Postmaster, he's fighting in a couple
Mhm.
weeks in Bangkok. So he's put out NFTs on Hedera
Hmm.
and he's doing them, starting to do them for all the fighters. And part of the kickback from the NFT goes to the actual fighters, so you can the fighters make a few dollars. They're updatable with all the stats and different things, and he did a really good job. They look solid, and I know they're just starting to roll out. So I think we're going to see more and more things like that, which will help. And
Mhm.
we want people like we're going to start unrolling rankings and belts and
Mhm.
things probably early next year. Um, so all these things could play into that, and I think we'll see some of that, and we already are seeing a little bit, but I think there's a lot more to come. There's a whole ecosystem there that could be built off of it, off the fight.
Yeah. Well, you guys are still early, right? I know with crypto we always say we're early, whatever that means. I'm older and I'm getting older, but like early sounds great, right? But you guys are. It's new, it's fun, it's engaging. So anybody who's checking this out, if you don't know what we're talking about, Influencer Fight Club and Karate Combat, it's really cool. And checking out the streams, I've it's like a guilty pleasure almost, right? And the time zones can get a little wonky, but that's cool. It keeps things unique, and it's not always going to be the same. And so I think there's some power to that, right? It's not the UFC, right? It's a different audience, and it's almost like your ordinary person could just go do it, right? Like where most
Almost.
people are not, even some of the best fighters won't make it onto a UFC fight, right, or on a card. But this is your opportunity. Go get famous. Like seriously, like if this isn't an encouragement of go get famous so that you can get knocked around a little bit in the ring. That's the best way I can think about it. But it's cool to see what you guys are doing with that. I hope that as 2024 finishes out, 25 evolves, it'd be cool to see what you guys do with it. And as you get more experience and people involved, it's just going to grow. In my mind, it's going to grow. And then you're going to start having this, right? You're going to start having this where the conferences come to you guys and they're like, hey, can you come do this? Because it's going to draw, X amount of people to our thing. So
yeah, right now I believe with Karate Combat, all the conferences that they've participated in or actually have been inside the halls, like the hall as well, have all been blown away and wanted to come back. Been very fortunate that there's been a couple face-offs actually like scheduled on stage within the conference, like in Consensus in Austin. There was a stage, I forget what time it was, like 4 o'clock or whatnot, that they did the face-offs with IFC and NKC, and it was packed. It was like everyone was, coming up from who was at the conference, plus all the influencers that were there. And, I think it does a lot. I mean, it makes sense to have them at crypto events. And, it's just been bouncing all over the world. And the next one, like I said, is in Bangkok and then Miami in December. So that one will be a little bit more favorable to probably your time zone here, as opposed to, I think Thailand will be like 6, 7 in the morning if I had to guess.
That's fun. And like I said, it keeps it interesting. Yeah, it keeps it interesting. And look, we got if you want to check it out, I highly recommend people check it out. And I was gonna cheat and ask you something about crypto, but I actually wanted to ask you something completely different. Right. And how do you know, or do you know Tony Hawk? Because I see you post pictures and he's in them every once in a while, and I'm kind of like, I want to ask it, but I don't want to ask it.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
No. So I have a really big background in skateboarding, specifically vert skateboarding, throughout my whole life. I want to say about 6, 7 years ago, I was fortunate enough to come across an old X Games ramp that was up for sale that needed a little bit of work. And I bought it and put a roof over it in my backyard. So I had this 60-foot wide, 13-foot tall X Games vert ramp, like in an airplane hangar, essentially. And it was just for me and friends, but I used to produce a lot of concerts, rave events, like club events, so it's just in me to do events. And I'm like, you know what, let's just start doing like a big skate event here. I'll make it free. We'll get sponsors. And that's sort of what we did. And I did the first one actually 2020, unfortunately with COVID. So crazy. I just made it smaller and it was invite only. Tony came out to that one. But over the course of the years, from skating, meeting him, to then, doing stuff here at the ramp, he's been by here a few times. When I'm in California, I'll go skate his ramp at the office in his warehouse. And it's been pretty cool. He's a super humble guy. Like one of the realest people you'd meet, like considering that star level that everybody knows him. He's a household name. Probably anybody within 10 or 15 years of my age has played his video games growing up.
Absolutely.
So he's been by a few times, skated with him a few times. And sometimes I'll go out when they have contests, and, a lot of my friends are pro skaters. So I'll go link up with them and, cheer them on. So,
next time I'm out there, I will not ask to do that because I do not need to break every bone in my body. But it's cool. No, that's fun. And so you still actively,
well, the unfortunate part is I was skating up probably to about last year pretty frequently, and then traveling kind of gets in the way of doing that. But then, I'm in Houston. The weather has been relentless. We're getting a thunderstorm, but the thunderstorm is 100-mile-per-hour winds that they don't tell you about. So we had about, I want to say 3 or 4 of those, and then Hurricane Beryl came through and directly hit me on the dirty side of the storm. So it knocked down a bunch of my fences,
Right.
power line through my the house next door that I rent out, and then it ripped half the roof off of my building. So yeah, the expense, even with warranty cover or insurance covering some things, they didn't want to cover the roof of the building and the skateboard stuff, even though I have 3 different insurance policies.
Of
Um,
course.
it would be very expensive to do, and with the schedule, I decided it's time to pass the torch. So I recently just had the ramp taken down, and it's currently being put up, I think, right outside St. Louis. So
Oh, that's cool.
it's going to go to the Midwest, and I think they're going to build a cover over it. And I don't know if they want to do an event, I'll help them out with one. But I did mine here about, I think it was like 4 or 5 years in a row. The last one was pretty crazy. Had a little over 2,000 people at my house. The Dead Kennedys played on the ramp. A couple other bands played. It was it was pretty crazy. Tons of the guys who won, like the kid who won the gold medal in the Olympics was here. Just all sorts of people. So it's that's the other part of my life that I've been involved like throughout my whole life, skateboarding, and love it. Just can't get out there as much. So
We don't get younger either. So as much as you can, obviously try to get out there. But it's
it
cool.
makes sense with the ramp though to
Yeah.
pass the torch
Yeah.
and let it foster a new community. With some younger kids, the home it went to, like the city's going to help, pay for some of the expenses. So it served a good point here. We have a lot of skate parks, so people will continue to do their thing. But I contributed with that for a while, and hopefully, the ramp lives on. That's
The ramp will
that's what I
live
could
on.
hope. So
That's cool. That's like almost my neck of the woods. So I'll have to check out what they did with that. Although driving 5 to 6 hours is not always the most pleasurable thing. So, no. So one of the things I want to talk about kind of um, how your experience with Flux has been over the years, and we've talked about Flux, you and I, before. And I'm curious, like you've got audience isn't huge, but they're very very passionate people, and a lot of them know Flux. And I'm curious, kind of diving a little bit more back into IFC for a second. How does IFC and Flux? I know kind of the story of how it came about, and you shared details with that. But is there something ongoing that those two groups share? And what are you most kind of like excited about at Flux? And then I'll have like 1,000 more questions.
So Flux and IFC have like a sponsorship partnership there. So we have them on these are some IFC shirts or whatnot.
Mhm.
So we have Flux there on the armband. We're actually in the process now of redesigning a new website, and the website is going to be hosted on Flux, and we're going to utilize everything about Flux to make sure the site's great. Overall opinion though of Flux, I've been bullish on them for many years, and only more bullish when I got involved because I was just a community member, and I sent a message asking about when their event was going to happen, and got a response. Next thing you know, I'm in a meeting, and then one thing leads to the next, and I'm actually planning an event with them and working with them. And I will say, in meeting everybody on the team, Dan, Davey, Alex, Jeremy, everyone, they're all super hardworking, very, very smart. They have a plan, and they just don't let up. There's lots of, like, Dan, in my opinion, doesn't have to be doing everything that he's doing, for Flux, to be honest. But this is what he does. He grinds day in and day out. He travels. He goes to many events. I've been with him at events where we are putting together like the booth up together. So like everybody does everything they need to make things happen. And some of the smartest guys and gals around. So yeah, I'm just bullish.
Yeah, so Dan and I had this conversation a couple weeks ago, and it's interesting. So So we see this utility play, right? We see Flux as I see Flux as an infrastructure play.
Okay.
Flux is like everything now, right? It's like
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for him. I'm waiting for him to do the post where he's like, "You can go pick your groceries up from the Flux store." You know, it's like okay, like it's cool though, right? It's you either have to be like really good at one thing or do like a million things, and not everybody can do a million things. And I think being really, really good at Web3 infrastructure, you're still a little early for that. That I will say you're still a little early because it's a tough sell when you're fighting the AWSs and Azures and Googles of the world because they just hold such a monopoly on everything. And so I think it's great. I love Flux AI. I love seeing kind of what they're doing. That I was curious, obviously, how that partnership will go. So IFC will be hosted on there and or at least the website. So that's cool. That's what we
Yeah,
want
we're
to see
starting.
is
Yeah,
yeah.
we're starting to make sure that we host on there, and then we'll see where we build from there. But Flux has been very supportive, and Dan's been out to fights, and yeah, I mean, I'm on. I love both sides of things, so for me, this is great to see. Like, all right, cool, we're gonna get to utilize Flux. Flux gets, we both get to benefit from that, and yeah, it's going to be awesome just to see the direction of how Flux goes into 2025 now. So
Can can the so the IFC has like a token. Can it be stored in
well,
Flux Vault or
karate combat has a token, karate,
yeah.
and probably it's a conversation that needs to further happen, is to be able
Mhm.
to store tokens like that in the wallets and Zelcore and different things, and that would be good to see. I think as things develop and the relationships develop, hopefully we'll see more of that, and I'd like to see the karate token just in general
Mhm.
be utilized more. I think as more people come on and start voting, there's also like delegate voting where if you're not good at it, you could have someone else who's really good at it and let them do it for you. So I think as the demand goes up, then we'll see that as well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I was as we're talking, I'm curious a little bit about like so Web3 in general, right? That's why we're here. We're all talking because we're all living that lifestyle, whatever that means, for better or worse. Some days it's for worse, some days it's okay, right? And so uh, we've weathered storms, we've gone through the ups and downs, and as this cycle's been so unique, right, to everybody, and it's the always up crowd, right? And I look at everything uh, as an investor. I don't look at I don't. I used to be a trader. I'm an investor now. I just do too many things to be an active trader, and so I know what I'm good at. And so for me, I look at like Bitcoin as the leader. And so for me personally, it's been a really weird because I do like a lot of the alt projects. It's just been like this lag that's unique, right? Because we're used to just boom. Like right now, we should be October was just up sad, right? And so and so I'm curious, like, what are you seeing out there? How do you feel about that? I mean, we're in a weird cycle.
I want to, yeah, I almost I want to like feel or say things that I don't necessarily think are right, just like emotion talking, where I feel like the cycle's so different and alts are down so much. It's like, will they recover?
Mhm.
I do think most will. Um, but I get this feeling now with like, look, Bitcoin last year at this time was what, maybe like if I had to guess, like 30K. I don't want to pull up a
Mhm.
chart, but it was, so overall in the last year, Bitcoin's doing really well.
Mhm.
Altcoins popped off a little bit when Bitcoin hit all-time high, but then as soon as we went down and had a choppy summer, like everything went back to where it was during like the heart of the bear market. I mean, 90+% down on most of them. Uh, it's hard to imagine right now things hitting their all-time high from last cycle on a lot of these alts, even if Bitcoin starts taking off. Do I think it will happen? I think it will happen with some. I just don't think that. I think sentiment that I heard from lots of people during the bear was, they're stacking on things and stuff that they were holding, like, oh, we're going to hit all-time high and surpass it as soon as we get to the cycle. Like, well, we're getting into the cycle now. Like, things are going to, hopefully it's this next year pretty much from now on, right? So I don't know if we're gonna see all those all-time highs on these different tokens and coins. I think there's some new ones that are out that are going to perform well. Overall, market's changing. I mean, there's heavy dominance in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin leads the way. I think until Bitcoin hits like 100K in the next couple months, then that could really fuel some alts. But I don't even see a lot of them taking motion until end of first quarter of 2025. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little worried. I am. I
Yeah.
hold significant bags of various things that if they get to all time high, I'm going to be ecstatic. You it would have asked me this a year and a half ago, I would have been like, oh, we're going to go past all time high. So I'm a little bit more conservative of it. Also, meme coins have just been dominating this year as well. I think that meme coins this cycle is sort of how NFTs were last cycle. So for better or for worse, I don't know. Lots of people look at that, looked at NFTs, I mean, as bringing just a ton of money in. I think maybe we see that with meme coins. Will that push over to our alts, or will alts fuel memes? I mean, and the thing is, out of the corner of my eye, I'm just looking at my chart, and it's just like solid red, except for
I don't want to know.
I don't know why, but like the only thing that's green on here right now, and I don't even know why it's on my list, is probably for novelty or keepsake, is Luna. And for some reason
Oh
that
my.
says it's up 28%. But otherwise, pretty much everything is red, And that's even with a Bitcoin, it's 70,000 and change.
Yeah.
Like it has me worried, but I have to tell myself, I'm an investor. I'm in this for a longer period of time. Even the bear market of, let's just say, just call it like 2.5 years back to now. Like, I think I said this to somebody yesterday or on a space. Like, if you calculate a whole 4-year cycle to 2x, 3x, 5x your money in 4 years is still beating out just about every other asset class or anything else out there that I could think of. Even real estate, unless you happen to like buy in the hood and like develop the whole neighborhood in like 3 years, But to do that kind of return in a full 4 years is really good just overall. So for us, we start creeping back up on some of them. We make some money, and our returns will still be a lot more in a shorter amount of time. But everyone's got their eyes fixated on the get rich quick, and I'm an investor. I don't see that. Like I instead of leverage trading, I play with meme coins. I do a stream on meme coins. That's sort of my casino. That's sort of can we throw a bar tab in and it takes off and get rich quick? There's a few there that I have conviction on that are building more than just, chart go up kind of thing and a meme. So, but overall, that's sort of like my casino. Hopefully alts will, my traditional investments for a long period of time will produce.
Yeah, it's been I view so I call it like the meme phenomenon. So it's the same people, right? It's the same people who ran NFTs up, run meme coins up, right? And then uh, it is what it is, right? And so they're basically making a market. So if you want to dive in, you'll probably lose. But if you win big, right? And so it's very attractive for anybody with like a gambling mindset. And I think it has hurt alts in a unique way. Just there's just less liquidity moving around. And I would have expected to see more come out of Solana when people make it big, but then they just go dump it in another one. And I've actually found it fun. So like, I saw like a token tracker, like time to rug from like sale to rug. They're like timing who could do it the fastest. And I'm like, why are we sensationalizing that? Like Web3 can be more. Blockchain technology itself is a good, like the ability to be able to bank yourself, the ability to be able to control your own destiny, right? Where monetary
We're doing it with memes.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's the meme, like it's either Bitcoin or memes. It's been a weird time for me, but I think it's important to adapt.
Well, I think
Like
with
you
meme
can't.
coins, I think meme coins are good and be very good for the cycle. But honestly, I think the one thing that's hurt meme coins and altcoins is the launch pads. So when you have like Pump.Fun making probably millions per day or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. It's a factory for anybody with a couple clicks in an image
Mm-hmm.
to put out a token. So that comes with a lot of positive things
Mm-hmm.
for people trying to do, launch a good community, tokenize something, sure, but it also comes with a lot of the negative sides. You have
Mm-hmm.
inexperienced people that are just launching. Anybody who has, zero point 0.2 soul or whatnot could launch.
Mm-hmm.
It also then comes with bad actors. So I'm blocked by countless people on Twitter now because I see somebody posting a contract. I see how many followers they have. I see who retweeted it real quick. I look and I see what's happening here. They're getting it
Mm-hmm.
past bonding,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're cheating it and rugging it and then deleting their tweet and then
Mm-hmm.
doing the
Yep.
next token. And I've
Yep.
seen people up to doing, I think it was 3, maybe even 4 within 24 hours. So now you have people that's what they're making their money off of, just scamming and putting out tokens. So you go and look at the stats, there's probably over a couple million tokens launched just on Pump Fun. Now you also have several others that are doing it, ones that are launching on other chains, whether it's Tron or Ton or XRP or various ones. So when liquidity rises on those other chains, are we going to see what happened on Solana? A lot of people trying to scam and rug and cheat on those. What it does is by putting just that many out there and making it accessible for everyone, the couple that are really good, yeah, they'll stand out more, but it's harder to actually get involved with a token that's going to do well. It's like a needle in a haystack.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones
Agreed.
that have made it so far, like some of these bigger ones like Whiff, Bonk, Brett, I think since they've, all at some point or maybe even over a billion market cap now, I think
Unbelievable.
they'll, yeah, that market cap, it's unbelievable. But the thing
Unbelievable.
is like, look what Doge did. What last
Mm-hmm.
cycle, maybe 75 billion. So it's not uncalled for like a Brett or a Bonk or a Whiff to be that next Doge. But everyone who's looking at all these other ones that are 20K market cap, 100, a million, it's a needle in a haystack. Those launch
Mm-hmm.
pads are just fully polluting uh, the chains, and then it's hurting. If everyone gets rugged, you're just not going to keep putting your money on that chain either. Like a lot
Mhm.
of people are going to get discouraged, whether they just go back to traditionally investing into regular alts or Bitcoin. I don't know, but it's a lot. The launch pads to me is what really added gas to that fire of like, memes they're awesome, but it changed my whole strategy from, say February of this year of how I was looking for launches to now when I buy meme coins, it's like it's got to most likely be over 100K, had some staying power. I need to make sure I vet the team and everything. It wasn't like, oh, let's grab a launch and we're going to 20x this. Pump Fun came out and nope. Now everything launched is just cheated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I I can make the argument that I can make an argument both ways, right? But I'm a believer that you don't be crappy to other people, right? I don't think you should be doing I think we're all probably in agreement that that's not a good long term strategy, and I wouldn't welcome those people anyways. Like I wouldn't welcome them to the dinner table. I don't welcome scamsters to the dinner table. It's just my
Yeah.
opinion and how I feel. And some people would if it made them money, right? And so I just think it's an interesting. I think we'll actually see as Bitcoin matures the industry a little bit as you see like Michael Saylor, whatever the hell he's doing, like continue. I guess I'm happy that he keeps buying it when I won't. But it's so like we have like institutions that see like traditional. They see is the stock just makes no sense. And I made a comment on it earlier to Peter Schiff because he's whatever. I just love trolling him. So it's interesting. Like he's not wrong that MSTR is way overvalued. But if you're a blockchain enthusiast and you think Bitcoin's going to go to 150, 250K, why wouldn't you? Like, you're early there too. I don't care what the price is at, right? And so it's interesting how it's actually playing into the broader markets at a smaller scale, right? Because we're still a very tiny percentage of the world market. So every percent that's gained, right, could let's say 90% goes into Bitcoin. So you're fighting for the other 10%. I've seen I've seen a lot of people get dejected by Solana because of the meme rush, and We did a similar thing, right? I built a tool where you can launch your own token. I also gave them the ability to lock their or burn their liquidity and to lock their governance, so you cannot rug those
Yeah.
coins. Now you can hold a huge supply and dump it on your people. I can't. I'm not going to stop that. But I gave you the tools to not be shitty, and I think it's important. Uh, what's interesting is I would almost like to see, like, we don't have a lot of volume, right? Working on that, but like we don't have a lot of volume, so it's hard to measure. But I would be curious to see. I bet one group could probably dwarf our volume if some influencer came in and said, "Hey, look at what I did." I bet you they won't lock it, and I bet you it'll be the highest grossing token on chain ever. Like, it just takes one person, frictionless tokens in an environment where they're not well known, to be bad actors. And so I think it's on these platforms too to give these options, and to, like, when I see the contracts on Pump Fun and others, people have asked me, they're like, "Man, I made 75K. I bought it last night and I woke up this morning and I'm up 75K." And I'm like, "Well, that's interesting, but I can't sell it for some reason." I'm like, "Bro, you're screwed."
Wait,
Like,
is it
I'm
is it the
sorry.
honeypot, or is it there's no liquidity? It's probably
They
either
yeah, they
or.
locked it so you can't actually, only, I think only
Oh,
3 addresses can sell. You can buy it, but only,
Oh my
honeypot.
god.
yeah, they honeypotted them, and they raised a ton of money. I can't. I'm not going to out it because I don't want to out the person, but like, this is true. This happens a lot, and I was actually a little surprised to see that. And I would think, like there's people in the community that have a responsibility to, like, shut this stuff down, like, to bring awareness. And I think that's important for all of us, is bring awareness, and that's why I like our projects. Like, I love Flux. I love seeing kind of what you guys are doing with IFC. It's in the open. It's easy to see. You know the people. You said you're doxxed, right? It's easier to make that connection. What sucks, in my opinion, what really sucks is the price, right? I don't see Flux getting any kind of recognition from a price perspective. A lot of other chains too. Even though I see all the things that I want to see, it's very interesting that when the meme cycle dies, I do think RWA is going to take a fever pitch to the point where it's going to embarrass what NFTs did. And the reason it's going to do that is simply because you have business, right? And this is what I told Dan. Enterprise Flux is coming, right? That's, like, for me, that's my jam. I'm looking forward to that. We can host our own nodes. We can run everything on top of this. It's public, private, like, it's what we needed, right? And so if we could tie all those things together, get the negative connotations with tokens, I think you'll start seeing, like, quality projects maybe middle of next year to late, as products are being built out. It just takes one person, one really good builder, to come here, uh,
See,
visionary, and just set us all up for success.
see something like Flux, for example, and what they're doing. I almost view when you mentioned about price, I almost view Flux as like building something that's, I'm starting to use this term, like cycle proof,
Mm-hmm.
where
Right.
regardless of what happens with the economy or these cycles, that they're building something in an infrastructure in place that when adopted and used becomes like a foundation. They're a foundation. There'll be a foundation for a lot of companies, a lot of people using it, customers, and will help cycle proof them from saying, "Oh, look at, we're up here and now we're 90% lower," just because, like this whole narrative of the cycles. And I think that will change. I think a Flux is going to be one of those. There's even a meme token that's not even a meme token anymore. It's like a more RWA play,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is doing the same exact thing because they're involved in horse racing, and
Okay.
that's something that goes on regardless. So there's going to be some people out there and some projects out there that I think are going to set the tone and change, and maybe change up that model and see, and we'll get a little bit more away from, I don't know, I guess that the token and the mindset, or the token and price mindset, and more on the staying power, and how the chart eventually turns to be trending up, like just over that long period of time. But
That's really good point. And I like to think about the demand there, right? It's all about demand, especially in the real world. Talk about RWA, stuff like that, because a big thing we see come up is like, what problem are you solving? There's way too many people in Web3 that are just making something to make it. You aren't solving any kind of problem, right? And cycle proof is, I've never heard that used before, but I like that because, so many other things are just relying on, okay, there's going to be a year where billions of dollars pour into crypto and just hope that some of that goes into my coin. Where, if you're providing a service to people that don't really care if it's crypto or not, then that stuff doesn't really matter. And so
Yeah, there's a lot of room with the RWA, especially. There's a lot of room where there's businesses that are out there that have to turn a profit regardless if the economy is good or not, that operate in the real world or operate in Web 2. So why isn't that needs to be really in the forefront for what we're doing now? It helps build it so that like I said, sort of cycle proof, where it just doesn't take that hit. And yeah, I think there's a few that are building towards that and setting that up that have been more focused on that than how do we pump up the price, because we know that at different periods of time you could probably go to major KOLs and pay people to just start talking and pump things up. Will that pump sustain? What will the market makers, you know what I mean? So I think that if you're going about that, steady, been building during the bear market and going to build through this one, try to provide the the base for everyone where you're not affected during those times. So we'll see what happens.
I think for it to take off. So I'm torn on that because this instability of crypto is also its enemy, right? When you can see a group can bring a blockchain down, right? Price, they can move it, they can bring it down just by influencers. That does scare businesses, right? Now they have the same issue with investors. So if you think about a public company, if they want to list on their own chain or on another chain, right? Base is very, very popular right now, and as much as I can knock Coinbase all day long, they're still, if they're doing it, they're pushing regulations, they're pushing the needle finally. It's kind of cool to see, right? They have the legal apparatus to do this, and so that challenge, I think, once the regulatory environment catches up, which it's always on a huge, I come from the banking sector, it's always on a huge curve how long it takes to catch up. By the time it catches up, there'll be something new, like honestly. And so
I agree.
So if we can figure out a way to like expedite that, if we could say, a lot of companies do invest in blockchain, they just don't invest in crypto. So if we can create a more of a homogenous world, I can invest in something today, and then in 10 years from now, it can be the next Coke. And that's like, from an investor standpoint, that's like the dream for me. I don't need to worry about this year, this cycle, next cycle. On a cycle low, I would buy. It's just, I thought I'd bought on a cycle low this time, and gosh darn, I was wrong. And then I was wrong again, and then I was wrong again, and that's okay, because now we're okay. Like we're seeing some more health. When Bitcoin tops out, I would really love to see the love get spread a little bit more, not into meme coins. And what I'd like to be able to see our governments do, like all the governments, is to give solid rules for these people to play. So if a business has an unknown, there's a lot more risk and a lot more cost to that risk. And so when we see that, like whoever's invested in those plays, when that does happen, are going to be richer than all of us because they were patient. But it's not the sexy thing, right? So I'm looking forward to that kind of time frame, and I think you'll see that. I think you'll see that next year. I think you'll start to see it expand once people are successful pitching this and businesses start adopting it. You're gonna see the traditional players, like the DocuSigns of the world. You're gonna see them make huge investments, because they don't want to lose their market share. They're smart enough to know we can control it now, but it's the safety valve is going to break soon. And so the sooner we break that valve, it's going to require more maturity. I
agree. I mean, look, what is it today to the day is what, 16 years for the white paper for Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
I mean, crypto, Web3, whatever, Bitcoin, it's like pretty much the fastest adoption curve, I think, out of anything. But still 16 years, and probably most of us are, the very few of us have been involved over a decade, for example, right? So there is a lot more maturity that needs to come out here, I think, with Bitcoin. It's going to take some time. We're going to see some of that regulation come in, and there'll be mixed reviews, but I do think there needs to be framework, because how do you get this to be multiple trillion or $10 trillion, market cap overall? You need, like you're saying, businesses to come in, and the DocuSigns. Like, look at, we got lots of issues besides, for on the enterprise level, but even just on the self custody level, we all want self custody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you lose your seed phrase, you're going to freak out because you lose all your money.
Yep.
Whereas a bank, you could go and you could get a new ATM card and such. So I think we have a big issue with wallets in general, which is which affects people being onboarded and that adoption. I think someone like you mentioned, Coinbase, which, love them or hate them, they're doing big things to help that. Like the new smart wallet helps on those things. And I think as we see more of that, we'll get that. But you're right. If it's DocuSign or someone comes in and just buys in or wants to do something, that's big. That can move price extensively. Could then you'll see a lot more come in. I'm just wondering when that like valve breaks, when we get to that point where it's inevitable and companies FOMO in. I don't know. I would love for it to be this cycle, but I just don't think we have regulation framework, lots of those foundational pieces in place for big companies to come in. I think we'll all do well, and we'll see a lot of these chains do well, get stronger, but it might not take until after this cycle before we see them come in.
So I think every cycle from this point forward is going to be less and less of a cycle, and we'll see more stability. Especially once the big players get involved, you have more liquidity, right? Institutions aren't Jeets like all of us, right? Like they.
That's true.
So we'll see more stability. And one thing I wanted to talk about you guys kind of mentioned this earlier, is really that whole aspect of bridging Web 2 to Web 3 is making it so that people don't understand really that they're working with crypto, right? Like it doesn't have to be all Discords, Telegram, code. I mean, look at Solana over the past year. Okay, that place has been fucking crazy. All right, like insane. They have on-chain OnlyFans, on-chain drug dealers, on-chain hitman. They have, dude, I saw a guy set himself on fire on stream for a coin to go up. Another kid was like, hey, once we hit 1 million market cap, my mom's going to take her shirt off. Right? Like, this is insane, but it shows you what we the people in crypto are capable of, right? And if we can use all of this money and energy and harness it into things like IFC, right? That really show the humanity, and that, we're not just like magical internet money, right? Like we can do real things,
Solana is an interesting one because I wasn't super bullish on Solana. I think until the real defining moment was when I was in Singapore in September and went to the Breakpoint conference, and to see everything else, like we were just hearing, like you said, hearing about the memes. I'm like, the new phone, they got like a Game Boy device. There's all, I'm like, this is huge. Like one of the best conferences I ever been to, but yeah, it's insane to see what's going on with some of these chains. But I completely agree with, at the core of what you're saying, is that as we go forward, we're not going to see those big cycles like we have. I think it's going to get more stable, almost like, I hate saying, like a traditional stock market has been probably in our life, but it'll get to that, and you'll have those conviction plays that you're invested in that'll slowly, go up, and on occasion you'll have a new one that pops off and becomes a big player. But I don't think we're going to see this, 1000x overnight stuff by every token this cycle.
It's not healthy.
Yeah.
In economics, you see this a lot in markets, because if you look at the penny stock market or the commodity market, the less regulation you have, the more unstable it's going to be, and a lot more crazy it's going to be, right? So as you move forward, get more regulation, more money, and more eyes on it, it just has to become more stable, because that's what's in the best interest for everybody involved.
That's what brings the institutions. I mean, it's like I said, you're paying more for risk. But we've got about 2 minutes, Scott. This has been great. I don't want to take any of the time here. Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say? The stage is all yours.
I don't know. I guess, go out there and download the Karate Combat app at karate.com. It's on iOS and the Google Android or Play Store there. And vote on your favorite fighters. We're just, we're putting together a lot of great influencer fights. Bangkok, Miami. We're going to be in Hong Kong, back in Dubai next year, a bunch of different conferences. But as far as that, you want to actually get in the pit, go to influencerfightclub.com and apply or hit me up. And no, really, thank you guys. Thank you for having me. It's been cool just to BS about, the fighting a bit and just crypto in general and some of these different topics. I'd love to do it again. I feel like we just went through an hour real quick once we started just talking about stuff. And, I think my overall takeaway, though, for the market is I'm very bullish on Bitcoin, on communities, especially if you have a great community and you're working hard on your project. I think you'll do well this run. I'd love to see more people building on their actual project instead of building marketing hype instead. I think you really need to put in that work to try to become cycle proof and try to become, ready as things become more stable. And but I think we'll do well. Just be careful out there. Be careful with those memes too. It's a casino. It's a casino for sure.
Yeah, no, and I agree. This has been a blast, and as I promised you, it would just be free-form conversation. For me, the IFC stuff is going to be fun. I'd love to have you on again and talk about whatever. Like, I don't even care what the topic is. We can talk about cats. I don't like cats. Sorry, everybody. It's more because I'm allergic. But I hope everybody has a great day. I appreciate both Ron and Scott for being here. Ron, obviously, wizard. We all know Ron. And today's Halloween, so go out, trick or treat. It's raining here, of course. But look forward to that, and I look forward to our guest next week. We'll try to get that out soon. And I appreciate everybody for stopping in. And once again, appreciate the conversation, appreciate everybody's time, and hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.
Take it easy.